Hello, everyone, and welcome to the broadcast today on Saturday of Valpo Esports' League of Legends game against Manchester University. I'm your host, Dikembe. I'm here with my co-host.
Keloids.
And we're going to be hopping into draft here. What we're really looking for out of these drafts specifically is we obviously the Misfortune pick has been very strong. The Caitlyn pick has been very strong, and we see kind of those first pick ADCs, right?
Yeah.
But I think out of maybe not ADC, who else would you look to first pick here in these drafts?
Uh, so, we're gonna see where Manchester and Valpo really go. Mid lane is usually a high contested role, for both these teams, from what I can tell, especially for Valpo, getting giving Jakimbo really a good pick.
Hmm.
To something that he could play with. And then usually an early prio for jungle too. Um, Getting something that Vector can really like influence the map around. He
Hmm.
usually like his Trundle. He plays Volibear and Nunu, just like those type of champions that he can influence the map really with. Are some proud picks, and obviously ADC, but you didn't mention him, the son of Tom Kench.
Yeah,
If that gets through,
yeah.
that's usually a safe dual bot lane for Valpo.
I do
Uh,
think that we are going into a three-game series here. I don't think we'll see the Senate Tom Kench immediately.
yeah,
Valpo likes to usually save it for the game two, game three, especially if they get put in a hole. It's their
yeah,
comfort picks that they go to. But I agree with you that mid lane is very contested, especially when we're R3 and R4ing, right? Like second ban phase.
yeah,
Um, we like to kind of Valpo Esports especially flip around that last draft, right? If
yeah,
we're drafting that jungle in that first round, we're gonna ban out mid, right? If we're
yeah,
drafting out jungle or if we're drafting mid out first round, then we're gonna either ban out jungle or top, right? We're gonna give advantage to one of these three guys, right?
yeah,
I just feel like prio pick wise, especially going into Manchester with a very strong mid lane, right?
mm,
I think it would be smarter to try and kind of secure that first pick,
yeah,
right? And as we travel in the draft here, Valpo Esports are readying up. Um, we're gonna have to see, right? If I had to predict something here, it would definitely, obviously, we're gonna see the ADC support being picked first. That's usually those are the safest picks that you can go with first, just because counter picking is mainly reliant on the bot lane,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
You're not gonna pick more damage or less damage based on your team comp when you're picking in an ADC role, right?
yeah,
So I mean we're gonna see that first, but if I had to guess, I feel like we're going to see a couple of mid bans here, especially from both sides really, both Manchester and Valpo. Just trying to give that little bit of a lead either to Lachlan or MF Chikimbo.
yeah. I think the main thing with bot lane is when you pick around bot lane, is not really the ADC pick. I feel like that's more like a comfort pick, but more towards a support pick, because that support pick is really what controls the lane and the pace of how that lane goes for each team.
Hmm.
So that's usually when you talk about bot lane, you're usually just talking about the ADC and what that is. But I feel like the most important thing that you talk about when you talk about that bot lane is what are those supports? Because
Yep.
are they going to play? Are they looking for an aggressive lane to try to get ahead early, or are they looking for more of a passive lane to kind of like scale into the later games?
Hmm.
I mean that the bot lane really, like, that rule doesn't really apply to Senna Tom Kench, but most other bot lanes you're looking for like a good counter pick
Hmm.
for that support.
No, definitely. And I think it'll be interesting, especially the dynamic that we have here in this game from Manchester against Valpo, is that we have Steamroller 14, who lower rank than Akira on the other team, but Steamroller loves to pick those engage heavy supports, right?
Yeah,
People that can get in your face, tank your heroes, right? Trying to get that extra push in, initiate fights, right? While Akira, right, the Diamond One on Manchester's team,
yeah,
likes to hang around the kind of enchanter, the full team support that she can give, right? Especially like I'm thinking Soraka here, right?
yeah,
The Soraka, the Yumi, the Seraphine, all of these are very strong picks right now.
yeah,
And based on just the OP that we were looking at earlier, right? This kind of world or this kind of map wide help that those enchanters can give. I think it'll be interesting, especially because if we consider it, right? when you're looking at, let's say, like a Seraphine going into like a Tom Kench or a Seraphine going into some other tankier support, it's really hard for that tankier support to really lane those times.
Yeah, yeah,
But if you're taking like a Sona into like a Nautilus or into another like engage heavy, right? Based on the enchanter that they pick, it's gonna be interesting to see how this works out.
yeah. Especially if they're picking like a Nautilus or something into like a Seraphine, right?
Hmm.
The main thing that the this Nautilus is gonna want to do is like pivot towards the other lanes and how they can affect the map,
Yep.
kind of just like, you're kind of gonna just get dominated in lane,
Hmm.
but how are you
Yep.
like taking that and kind of just like, okay, how can we create pressure around the map for our mid lane and feed our mid lane and our feed our jungle
Yep.
and like push everybody out. So
I
uh,
agree with you. Especially like Seraphine is always going to be better late game than Nautilus will be.
yeah,
Right? Nautilus is great early game, mid game skim machine, right?
yeah,
He's able to initiate fights, especially if you get fed early, but Seraphine just scales way harder.
yeah,
So I agree with you. If we do take that Nautilus into one of these types of enchanters, you need to be able to push out early. You need to have pressure so that you can roam around a little bit and give those extra lane support.
yeah. uh it's also going to be interesting, top lane, how they are going to draft for Dreadful. Are they going to put him on a bit more of a bruiser, or are they going to just like say, hey, we're just going to have to put you on tank duty right now, you know?
Hmm.
Um, like we need the tank, or are they going to put him like something a little bit more carry? It really depends on what they're planning on doing for the jungle matchup. Um, but
Hmm. I
um,
think I agree with you. It is going to be based on that jungle matchup, especially Manchester's jungle being very strong,
yeah,
right? And just being very dominant, especially through the last couple wins that they've had. Um, you have to look at, all right, are we going to tank this? Are we going to take this tankier jungle and kind of give the rest of our team the ability to do damage, or are we going to take the damage? I know that Vector's been looking at the Viego a lot recently, especially with the Frostfire build that's going on with it, Frostfire, Bork, right? And kind of being able to do that damage, but then that would force Dreadful into a tank opportunity. And as we know, he's not exactly having fun when he plays tank.
yeah.
Um,
So what we see first off is the first ban on Syndra, and Valpo immediately respond with the Victor ban. Um, kind of just normal because Syndra was going to be the counter into Victor, so you don't really have, looks like a heavy like banning against Jakimbo.
yep.
Three champs, Silas, uh, and that Talia too. We know how deadly that Talia is
Hmm.
on him. So really heavy banning, already four mid laners gone, and the first pick is Zillion,
I like that.
which I like it
I like
too.
that pick.
Zillion is really strong, especially late game, and he's just a strong all around. And
Hmm.
just with laning phase and his poke ability and his ability to, when he hits six, keep his ADC alive.
Yeah, his laning is going to be a little bit tougher. It's really going to be dependent on the skill, right,
Yeah,
of this support. If this is assuming that it's not a mid
yeah,
Zillion, right? But it's going to be reliant on that skill because his Q is a little bit of a hard thing to hit, but once you do start hitting it, right, you really can't miss.
yeah.
So it's going to be a little bit of a skill pick there, and Manchester's going to go with Aatrox, maybe.
That's that's
Hey.
that's interesting. Picking your top laner this early.
Hmm.
Um, Now it's going to be interesting to see what Valpo do on this third pick. Are they going to go for the top lane, or are they going to let it fall, or to R4 and let those bans come through, and or are they just going to um, try to pick for mid lane or jungle here?
I mean,
But oh, and the Trundle comes out.
so there's no ADC pick for Manchester. They're electing it to go R4 or R5, leaving it, which leaves up a couple of bans. But I mean, Valpo Esports, what I'd be assuming here is that they probably are just gonna pick the jungle. I mean, if they want to ban out top, they can ban out top, but I don't feel like Manchester's gonna do that. I feel like Manchester's gonna throw a couple more mid bans
Yeah,
towards MF Jacimbo. And as we
yeah,
see Valpo Esports going with the Nuno and Willop, we know that this is Vector's more aggressive pick. So he's
yeah,
obviously looking to outpace this Trundle. And coming into this game, especially because Trundle early game doesn't exactly have the fastest clear. right?
Yeah.
Especially with no AoE damage.
Hmm.
So having that Nunu, I mean, we laugh about it all the time. Nunu level two, right?
Yeah.
Mid laner, as a mid laner myself, I mean, we should be scared because Nunu level two like worries me. I have nightmares about that thing.
Yeah. Basically, anybody who's not top lane should be worried
Pretty
when they
much.
see Nunu
Yeah.
level 2. It's a scary sight because you're not stopping that snowball, and even like the pressure it gives, even if he gets a flash out,
Mhm.
that is such a huge advantage early game. We do see an Olaf ban. I think uh, they should Manchester should be looking toward ban the Mord. That's a huge counter towards the Aatrox. But
Mhm.
we are seeing another mid lane ban,
Yep.
another mid laner banned. Actually,
There's a
two more mid laners banned.
Vel'Koz band. Yeah. Okay. So I think Valpo Esports right here, right? Obviously, Manchester, I feel like is just kind of giving their bot lane.
Yeah,
Not as in like, oh, you're gonna lose, whatever, right?
that's an
But
Irelia top.
there's the Aurelia top.
That
Okay.
that more carry that I was talking about. They got the Nunu and the Tom Kent, so really don't need to
Mhm.
give them that bruiser or that tank. So they're just letting them go full damage carry with the Irelia.
Yep. I mean, we talked about that. It's gonna be based on Valpo's picks, but Valpo's picks did open up Jacob to have a little bit of fun today.
Yeah,
Dreadful to have a little bit of fun in that top lane. And I mean, talking about Manchester's kind of drafts here, when you see the Cass pick come out for mid, Cass is pretty strong right now, I'd
yeah,
say. Um, Especially against like obviously if we're looking at the bands here, we had the Syndra, Talia, Silas, Victor, Vagar,
hmm,
right? All of those are very strong against Cass, I'd say, except for maybe Silas,
yeah,
right? So having the Cass pick here and the Kaisa pick as well, two very strong picks.
yeah.
Honestly, Manchester's draft is looking really nice right now.
Yeah, I think the Casson is a really strong pick right now because you have the ability to ground the Irelia, so stopping from dashing,
Hmm.
ground the Tom Kent, which is huge, and then slow down that Nunu from coming at you. So
Yep.
I think this cast is a really, really big power pick, and they're going with
There's
the
the
Ziggs,
Zigs.
the
Yes,
Ziggs,
yes.
the
Pick the
Jakimbo
Zigs.
Ziggs.
We love it. No, I mean Valpo Esports seeing Manchester is definitely giving their advantages to their mid, jungle, and top, right?
Yeah,
As we see here, with kind of electing their ADC to go bot. And obviously, the first pick Zillion is just a good pick overall. I feel like it's
yeah,
very underutilized right now.
yeah.
So having that kind of freedom by getting that first pick support that can go really well with the rest of your team,
Hmm.
and not someone that's focused on winning that lane or focused on like trying to 2v2 every single time they go in that lane, really does make it apparent that Manchester is looking to win through their mid jungle and top. And
Yeah,
that's not a slight to their bot lane. Don't get it twisted. You can like it's definitely still hard because you have the Kaisa bot.
yeah,
Kaisa bot is insane, especially her E combined with the Zillion speed up.
yeah,
It's really really hard to run from her. But Valpo kind of answering to Manchester's, hey, we're gonna prioritize, fights in top jungle and mid by picking kind of more passive mid lane, right? With
yeah,
Ziggs. Obviously, he's not gonna be on your screen half the time when you're actually like fighting him, but being able to have that like tower pressure that Ziggs gives,
yeah.
as long as Valpo doesn't get gapped like early in this game, it's gonna be really, really hard to keep up with where he is. And I mean, we're expecting the teleport to be taken with the Ziggs as well to give him that late game prio.
Yeah, I think the Kaisa is just a pretty safe option with this
Hmm.
team comp. They're looking more towards later game with the Zillion and the Cassiopeia. Um, Aatrox did get nerfed, and he has like seen like pretty a hard hit on his win rate.
Hmm.
So it's gonna be interesting to see how this. He doesn't really scale as much and do as much healing. But if Kaisa can somehow get on that back line and get an R off on that Ziggs, that would be huge.
Yep.
As late game, she can just one shot that Ziggs, and so Valpo really needs to look to really like gain an early game lead and start to snowball later game. Because Valpo also really does have a really good scaling with the Senatom Kench. We haven't really talked about that.
Hmm.
One of Valpo's like mainstay like signature bot lanes that they're playing right now. Just super safe lane that scales really well. That Senna has, which she keeps getting soul scales really really well.
Hmm.
Also, the Irelia late game is pretty scary as she does a lot of damage. Same thing with Ziggs. You don't want him near a turret, and late game he will destroy that in one auto, like basically
Yeah.
one shot those turrets.
I mean, we were laughing last time we were trying to pull up the turret damage that he did. It was
Yeah,
47,000 damage
yeah,
turrets. I mean,
as
you
uh,
you can't make that up. That's just Ziggs.
yeah,
Um, I agree with you. Like these comps definitely do have kind of equal scaling, but I feel like Valpo Esports has a lot stronger of a split push potential.
yeah.
But Manchester University's actual skim machine
Hmm.
potential is insane, especially with that Zillion. I really feel like a lot of Manchester University's skirmish wins are going to be based off that Zillion speed up, speed down, and R,
Yeah,
right?
that Trundle running at you with that speed up is gonna be super scary,
Insanely scary. You steal the
insanely
stats of
scary.
Tom Kench, run someone down, it's going to be really hard to fight that.
Yeah, you have Tom Kench and Nunu just got to get on one of them to get their stats, and then you can just go on their carry, and it's not gonna look too good for him.
I mean, we always laugh, you can't Killian the Zillion,
You can't
right?
kill you in
And
this.
it's really apparent in this
Yeah,
comp here, especially with Aatrox, Trundle, and even a little bit of Cass sustain. I mean, Cass obviously not sustain, but just being kind of elusive, while Aatrox and Trundle being very like sustain heavy champs. Um, because you work so hard to kill them. You spend like focusing, you spend ultimates, whatever it is to kill them, and Zillion just revives them. And it's like, okay, and obviously that's going to be based on the skill of the Zillion, but this is a Diamond 1 player,
yeah,
right? They definitely know how to play Zillion. They're definitely comfortable with taking this pick, especially in the Valpo's comp,
yeah.
being able to first pick it. So, it,
Especially like Valpo not having really a lot of practice going into the Zillion in this
mm-hmm,
kind of setting, like in this kind of like team setting. How are they gonna like play against them? Do they know how to play against them
mm-hmm,
in this type of team setting? Um, do they know how to really counter them? They must think that the Senatom Kench is the best thing to counter against it, right? But yeah, very bold to pick him first.
mm-hmm.
Just screaming confidence.
I mean, it definitely is a confidence pick, but I also think that it's, a smart pick,
Yeah,
right? Valpo has not faced the Zillion this year, right? They have not faced it in any of their conferences. Um, Zillion first pick can be put to mid or support, right? There's still freedom in that pick. And Zillion is overall helpful even if you like put an AI behind the game, right?
yeah,
He's only gonna win you fights if the player is really, really good, right? But
mhm,
he's always going to be helpful even if nobody is alive behind the keyboard, right?
yeah,
Because you can press multiple people, right? But in winning those, you can just kind of press a button, speed people up, revive people, whatever. But winning these fights and skirmishes, I think Manchester, that's where the confidence comes in here with like, hey, I know when to speed this up. We're gonna communicate. You're going here. You're going here. I got the R for you. And that kind of thing.
and that's what makes Manchester's team fight comp so scary. You just have that safe backdoor, right?
Mhm.
And then you have someone like the Cassiopeia and the Trundle that kind of just like if you don't really want to be walking into them because if you're walking into them, it's hard to get out,
Yep.
because of the grounding and the slowing that like in the pillar, like it's just really hard to get away from them. So and they have a lot of damage with the Cassiopeia and the Kaisa.
Mhm.
Um, it's going to be really interesting to see how this top lane goes early. You really need the Irelia to win early.
Mhm.
Um, you don't need her to win early, but it really helps like boost the entire team to kind of snowball into that late game because you don't really want that Aatrox to be fed, um, or not fed, but just even or ahead going into that late game because he is scary. Once he pops that ult, he does do a lot of damage, and
Yep.
like this team comp just screams hard to kill. Aatrox hard to kill,
Definitely.
Trundle hard to kill, especially when he ults either
Mhm.
the Tom Kentra or the Nunu, and you have the Zillion to just back you up.
I mean, we talk about a lot how scary Manchester's comp kind of is, but I feel like Valpo Esports' comp is also like good,
Yeah.
right? And when you look at it, obviously it's like, okay, this is kind of funky, right?
Hmm.
Like not exactly what you expect, but you have to consider that each one of these picks is a comfort pick for Valpo Esports.
Yeah.
They're very comfortable. They've won lots of games with these picks, right? They know how to play and adapt with them. So while we both agree that like the skin machine potential that Manchester has with this draft is very strong, I feel like just being able to like play and adapt to the game, Valpo Esports has a little bit of that advantage with these champ selects.
Yeah, when you have an Aurelia, a Nunu, and a Tom Kench frontlining and going in first, and you just have a Ziggs and Senna just poking you from the back, that's a lot of damage, and that's scary damage. So Manchester really need to look to see how they can get on that back line in these team fights, right? Because um, like you can kill the Aurelia
Welcome to
and
Summoner's Rift.
in their front line, but I mean, give it enough time, and like the longer the team fight goes, just that poke
30
damage is
seconds
just
until
gonna do
minions
wonders for
spawn.
Valpo,
hmm
really.
I mean, we're looking summoner spells. We're looking just kind of rune picks. It's somewhat what you expect. I mean, the only weird one I'd say is it's not weird, but MF Kimbo going with the first strike on Ziggs. Just a different playstyle. Obviously, like we said, uh he's kind of just leaving it so that he can scale late game and
Yeah.
split push. So the extra gold that first strike will give you, especially in
Minions
this
have
early game, will
spawned.
help out a ton.
Also, the ignite mid for Lachlan
Yep.
is a bit interesting. Not going with the TP, so Manchester only have one TP, which means that they're gonna have a lot less map pressure late game because that Cassiopeia can't match the Ziggs if Ziggs has TP for like late game like Baron fights because that really just like shifts the fight from a 5v5 to a 4v5 in favor of Valpos. So it's gonna be interesting to see how they play it late game because you really don't want to be giving Ziggs time alone in the side lanes. Aurelia too, but you can't have two people matching him because you only have one TP.
hmm I mean, as we're just getting started here, uh, Lachlan with the Q start on Cass, which is not usually what you expect, but into a Ziggs lane, it makes sense. You want to be able to pressure, you want to be able to get that damage off. And it's going to be a pretty scrappy bot lane, I'd say, right?
Yeah.
Because in that time that Zillion takes to detonate his Q and maybe like, QWQ to refresh himself, um, in that time, that leaves a little bit of just window for Valpo to open up and trade a little bit more. Especially if Zillion is going to start with that Q, right? Throwing that out. That little window that you have on his time bomb to kind of shoot back and trade back is helpful. And I mean, as we're seeing here, bone plating and an early
Early
gank coming
gank.
from Trundle, getting knocked up by the pillar
Yeah,
and
this
then
is a
shot, and
dead
that's gonna be it
Aurelia,
for Tread.
and they're giving it to the Aatrox,
First blood.
which is actually really smart. The gold will go a lot farther on the Aatrox than it will on the Trundle this game.
And
But
here
we do
comes
have a
Nunu as a secondary gank, but
level 3 gank
I mean, that
into
speed up from
Snowball.
Zillion is just insane, as we saw on himself right there being close enough.
Yeah, that just felt like it was a reactionary gank, you know? Like it really wasn't that set up, but you kind of feel like you have to do something
hmm
on the opposite side of the map when your top laner is getting ganked and dies. You feel
Yep.
like you kind of have to push bot lane, but bot lane really wasn't in a great spot to be ganked in the first place, so nothing really comes of it. But it's gonna be interesting to see how top lane ends up. We do have a gank mid lane. Looks like it's not gonna go
Just
anywhere
looking
though.
for a little bit there. I mean, I agree with you. It was a little bit of a reactionary gank, but there's nothing you can do at that
Yeah,
point. That's what you're supposed to do.
yeah,
You can't just let the other team's jungle get ahead of you and not have any answer. Because even then, if you're showing yourself in lane, right, being able to just back people up, give a little bit of presence, like, hey, I am here, and there's the Zillion passive level up, which is super, super strong for bot lane, especially. And the stun as well, hitting on the Senna. Senna being caught out, but Tom
Oh,
Ken's jumping in, the Ignite going down on the Zillion, and that's going to be a death for on Akira. Dreadful also getting a couple of shots here, but the Trundle came back up again to gank him as well. That's two ganks in the bot lane, but Nuno being active in mid and bot. Trading the Ignite and the Flash on both sides in the bot lane.
yeah.
Ordinal on the Senna being down both summoner spells. Akira being down the flash, but we'll see if Nunu starts to visit back. I mean, as much as I want to say, hey, no flash, gankable, right? We do have Zillion E, right? So he can
Yeah,
just kind of run away.
that was a really good play by the Valpo bot lane for that 2v2. We also see something here. This Kai'Sa is really low,
Hmm.
and the healing from the the, the Senna is a bit insane, just from her Q.
Yep.
But the they're ganking top lane again, just targeting that Irelia, and we see people target Dreadful all the time, but he always seems like he can come back in the late game, and especially with Irelia, just get
Hmm.
as long as she's getting gold, I think she'll be fine.
Yep.
He was also super close to killing that Aatrox there on that 2v2, and if he would have got that kill, that would have gone a super far,
Uh,
super far for him.
I mean, once you hit level 4 as Aurelia, really, right, and you get two points on your Q, and he's running Conqueror as well with Aurelia's passive Conqueror,
Yeah,
people really underestimate how much damage Aurelia does early,
yeah,
right? It's kind of insane because you have both adaptive stacks on you, and you're able to just swipe away, especially with the increased attack speed. As you can see, Jeffro having all stacks here. I'm not sure if this is the fight really he wants to take, um, especially considering Aatrox had his Q procced already. But
yeah. Aatrox has that serrated Dirk so early, and he does so much damage, as you can see with his Q. You have Trundle here.
there's the dive
Oh,
away,
and
but
he,
the huge knockup by Trundle stopping Tom Kench from dashing. Even with Nunu returning in, it's just a little bit too late.
yeah, that was a great pillar stopping that back, or that W uh, from the Tom Kench, because if he gets out of there, uh, kind of just resets. No one gets a kill. A bit of a waste of time. But now, since they got that kill, you put dragon pressure now on Valpo. As you can see, they're starting it now. You have such heavy bot prio, and now you see mid lane got the push, and now Cassio's coming down, and Valpo really just needs to give it up. Really just want to uh, see Nunu just not really just stand here and see what he can do around the map,
And it looks like
Because
they're going to try to engage this here. They are coming out by Lachlan with their bot lane flashing in as well. Kaisa going down to Tom Kench. Poke also getting hit, but a huge stun by Zillion as well. It may be the end for Ordinal, but Ordinal trading with the Trundle there. The shutdown going to Steamroller. Jakimbo walking up, trying to hit this Cass. Cass not having her Q proc there, and going down to MF Jakimbo. Dash in as well on the Zillion, knowing that Zillion doesn't have much close range damage, but if Zillion can keep running away, out of mana as well, he gets the stun off here on this Q. He may be killable, and he misses, so he's going to be forced to back up here with a little bit of chip damage from Zillion. I mean, while the drag did go to Manchester, Valpo did take what they could out of that fight, right?
yeah,
You, you want to get that gold lead. You did get the shutdown going to Tom Kench. You got the gold going to Senna as well from the kill on Kaisa, right? The couple of assists that they got. Even Ziggs picking up a kill there as well, without without Ordinal's death, right? Excuse me, sorry about that. Besides Ordinal's death,
yeah.
no other people going down. Still somewhat of a worth it trade, although that dragon is really important. We're gonna see a top lane gank here by Nunu, trying to push off a little bit so Aurelia can finish up this gold.
And you can see that Senna's top lane too, so they're looking for this Herald right now with the Prio here. And yeah, they're setting up Herald right now. Um, we first Herald, lot of prio right now because of how much gold it gives you early game. Oh, we see the flash from Dreadful right there. Probably keeps him alive.
Hmm.
He is low on mana,
Yep. You have to
but
be careful with Aurelia, especially like usually you want to run those inspiration runes so you can get those biscuits, right? Um, but without that, your mana is a really big issue early game. That is the one thing stopping him from being like a broken champion, is that every Q that you have costs that mana, and
yeah,
there's no refund on it. So, I mean, you have to be careful, but we saw right there setting up for that Rift Herald being able to take that early, especially after that dragon fight. I mean, that's what you have to do. Especially losing that dragon, right, and then winning the fight afterwards, you immediately want to snowball that into a Rift Herald like Valpo did. So we're looking pretty even here. The gold lead is going to Manchester though, especially on that Aatrox. That Aatrox will start to be a scary thing coming later in this game.
you do have that 1k gold lead right now, but you do have that Herald sitting in the back pocket. of oh,
Looks like there's
support.
going to be a huge turn on this bot lane. Steamroller are in the center, getting to be able to throw her out. Vector coming in with the snowball as well to stop, but a couple of flashes. The R coming from Nunu, getting it off, but not being able to pick up anyone as Trundle and Senna go down. Or as Trundle kills Nunu and the Senna goes down.
Yeah, that's gonna hurt a lot for Valpo. You get those 2 kills there, and you're just losing all these blue side camps
Hmm.
as Vector. It just does not feel good. And for the bot lane, that Zillion now has blue buff, so his mana is regenning a lot faster than normal, and he's going to be able to spam a lot more now that he has that blue buff. And it's going to be interesting though, where Vector now decides to drop that Herald. Is he gonna give it towards a bot lane to try to help them out, or is he gonna give it to the uh, the mid lane to help feed Jakimbo? I mean, he is ahead or about even in the lane. He does have his mythic now, which is really nice.
If I'm Nunu here, I'm dropping it mid lane.
Yeah,
I am giving Ziggs this lead here. Obviously, he does have the 1-0-1 lead,
yeah,
right? Especially over that or not over that cast, sorry, but even with that cast, and now having his mythic especially, that's insanely important for keeping Valpo in this game because quite frankly, I mean we're seeing right now they are Manchester is winning the skirmishes like we said they would, just based off comp wise. But if we could give a little bit of pressure to this mid lane, and we see that the cast comes down and gets the kill, or Kaisa actually getting that kill as well. The exhaust going out on Ordinal. Steamroller getting a huge shield here, but he might not escape as the Zillion bomb goes down. Another gank top lane as well. Nunu being able to get caught out by the Aatrox and the Trundle. Manchester just being very strong across the map right now. I think biggest thing that they're doing is that you see these kind of like lane pressures that they have, right? And they're playing with their leads, right? They gave that top lead early. They were okay with losing that Manchester fight, but their vision is insane right now. They're being
yeah,
able to see around the map, and I think that's what's leading Valpo into these kind of horrible fights, right? We saw in that bot lane them being able to push up on that Zillion and that Kaisa, and the fight looked great, but because they didn't have that vision on where Trundle was, they engaged too early. Trundle came in, got the kill,
yeah.
right? I mean, that kind of control that Manchester is putting on this map, especially with their draft that they have, is super important to how they're winning this game, how they're taking this lead so far. But you have to be careful. It is still early in the game. Valpo Esports does have that Ziggs being able to light up. If Aurelia keeps farming, right, the Senatom Kench is like an infinite scaling comp.
Yeah.
If they let Valpo in this game for too long, that early gameplay that they've had and kind of leading together is not going to matter.
There's that Rift Herald mid lane for the Ziggs, and there goes the tower instantly. Uh, got the plates, got low enough to where he was able just to satchel the tower, and it's gone. So that's some nice gold back for Valpo and for the Ziggs. Um, but I think a big thing here is the vision score from Zillion right now. He has 16 vision score this early on. Kind of just has eyes all over the map right now. No, they're keeping track of where everyone is, so they're not really surprised. Cassiopeia's
And here
there's a
comes
gank bot
another
lane.
gank from Trundle, another great pillar stopping the back from Steamroller. The R coming out from Senna, but that's not going to be enough. As Trundle picks up another kill, going to 4-1 and 4.
Cassiopeia is up in the jungle,
Oh,
the red side jungle. I don't know what he was doing there. He was there that entire fight, kind of just sitting there, not really making a move.
they might have just been looking for a dive on that top lane, especially
Yeah,
considering that the Aatrox is as strong as it is, and Aurelia and Nuno are a little bit behind. I feel like that's a 2v2 that would be smart for them, but I don't think that he could just crash away fast enough, honestly.
yeah,
Especially against an Aurelia, right? With the Q, once you start getting damage, I mean, we're gonna laugh, right? He went with the Executioner's Culling just to pick up early for anti-heal, but once you get your first item, it's kind of just like, all right, Aurelia's a champion now. Like, she's a force to deal with. And we have a dive here on this Kaisa by Steamroller. And it looks like the kill is going to be picked up there. Just overstaying your welcome a little bit, especially after that Zillion had backed. Um,
yeah.
just a little bit dangerous.
There was just no need to be there. Uh, well, we do see
And
a solo
there's a
kill.
solo kill right there in the Aatrox. I mean, the 3-0 with the Eclipse and the Merc Treads already too strong. And there's the R coming in from Steamroller, just picking him up, trying to pull him back out. But you see the Trundle R come out on him as well, trying to buff him up a little bit. Um, it's just becoming a force,
Yes,
becoming very strong. And Aatrox is going to take that solo kill and be able to start Rift Herald here.
yeah. Very lucky for Ordinal to, or not Ordinal, for Steamroller to stay alive there on the Tom Kench, but um, just gonna get a free Herald now. Probably gonna want to drop that mid to open up the map a little bit more for them. Uh,
And we're seeing Ziggs now start to swap lanes, especially after
yeah,
taking his tower. Biggest thing is that, especially when you're behind like this, right, 5k behind, taking those objective bounties on tower is going to be huge.
yeah, those objective bounties are gonna be huge. But you see the Kaisa respond to this, and you don't really want that because Ziggs just outranges you, outpokes you, and it just does not feel good as Kaisa
The only
to
way I feel,
respond to this.
yep, yeah, I feel like the only way that Ziggs gets killed here is if Kaisa does land that WR combo,
Yeah,
right? Because Ziggs is never gonna get close enough that you can auto attack or Q, right? And then once you proc that, and here comes another shot on Dreadful trying to get the dash away, but I mean there's 3 people in the bush plus the speed up from Zillion, and that's just another death. I mean, not exactly the most fun game today
no,
for Dreadful. But I mean, game one is game one, right?
yeah.
We've seen this happen last series that they had, where a little bit of a rough game, rough start for the first game, coming back and then being able to play into their hand. I mean,
Yeah, just being able to adapt second game with the picks and bans here. But the Rift Herald was dropped top lane, and it is going to be that tier 1 top lane tower that is going to drop. Dragon does spawn up in 50 seconds, so that's going to be soul point for Manchester. So that's pretty big for Manchester. And you really want this as Valpo because you want to stop the bleeding, and that will stop the bleeding a lot, delaying soul by 5 minutes. So let's see what happens.
well, I mean, it is gonna be Cloud Soul. It's a little bit rough. They still
Yeah.
do have 2 drags to try and take it, right? They have a little bit of leeway here, but if they do start to just get steamrolled here, I mean, Cloud Soul is really only good when you're steamrolling. There goes the R from Ziggs, just kind of being tossed across the map, almost killing that Cass.
That was huge. Even though it didn't kill the cast, it stopped their backs
Mhm.
for this dragon. So I don't know if Manchester can fight this now, right? Because Cassiopeia and Zillion are
Cass
still
and
in
Zillion
base.
did back. Yep.
They're still in base because of that stopping with the Ziggs ult.
What we're gonna have to be worried about here is Aatrox and Trundle are now in here. I mean, honestly, if they want to dive in, they probably could dive in. I don't suggest it like they did. They just forced to back out here. But you have to remember that these are a 4-0 and 4-1 like duo right now,
Yeah.
so they're pretty dangerous, especially. Um, I mean, looking for Valpo, what do you think is the best plan of attack getting back into this game here with, I mean, only a 4k gold lead, but still a gold lead for Manchester.
Yeah, you have to slow this game down really. Try to stop the bleeding, and you're gonna want to look at do that through the side lanes of Jakimbo with that Ziggs, and just trying to get as many souls as you can on the Senna, right? Trying to get her as fed as possible to do as much damage, get her that extra range so she's not getting. It's harder for people to jump on her, right?
Looks like
Uh,
Manchester is doing a little bit of a sneaky time, trying to pick out this Dreadful again under tower.
yeah,
And there's another dive on this Dreadful. I mean, he has
yeah.
just been having a bad day.
There's just nothing you can do
There's
there.
literally no play there. I mean, when you have this lead, Manchester's doing what you're supposed to when you have that lead. They're starting to use it to kind of pressure at different lanes, tilt people, right? That's just the way you do it.
And that's what feels so bad right now. If you're Valpo, is when you're this far behind, you don't have any vision. If you just look at the top side red jungle, it's just blue wood, blue wood. Blue wood. They got no vision in there, and Manchester has all the vision. So that's why they're able to just so easily dive that Aurelia, because Dreadful just has no vision of what's going on,
Yep.
and it's really hard to play.
I mean, we saw
But the
Ordinal
game-
get caught out there as well,
Yeah.
especially with the Cass hiding in bush and the Aatrox coming out. Again, no vision.
Yeah,
right?
they just have no control of their jungle right now, so it's really hard to play
Mhm.
as Valpo right now.
And there's just another stun with them hiding in that top lane. Lachlan may be going down here trying to pick up that Ziggs kill, but Ziggs getting the shutdown.
That's
That's
huge.
750 gold right there. But
Yeah,
I mean, we saw they're just doing the same thing over and over again until their objectives come up, right? Baron is up in 5 seconds. Drag being up in 3 minutes, excuse me. Um, what else is there to do, right? You're
yeah.
gonna push these waves and it's time to just start bullying people, and they're gonna start just choosing to hide in those like bushes, and that's kind of the play you do when you're up ahead like this.
Yeah, and that makes it really hard for Jakimbo to side push because you don't know where they are, right? So if you don't know where they are, then you're really hesitant to push up and split push because they could just be right there and surround you, and you're just dead. And you, we're not uh, close to dragon, but we're getting there to like where if you throw a death like that, that just gives away free dragons. And
Hmm.
at this stage of the game, for Manchester, like giving them soul point is kind of just like a nail in the coffin, or just soul in general is just a nail in the coffin. So that's really what you have to try to avoid as Valpo is giving them like even more, right, than they already have.
Hmm. I mean, we're seeing here they're just trying to clear this vision. Baron is going up soon, so they are gonna start it up. Um, just a little bit of vision, but I mean, as we can see, you have people hiding in bushes again. You have Manchester taking control of that vision that they have, using it to their own advantage, right? So it's gonna be a little bit rough, but there's another shot on Dreadful. He is just not having the best day today. There's another 3 people on Dreadful. Even the R from Senna not being able to save him. Still doing a lot of damage to both of them, but I mean, 3v1, that's really the best you can hope for.
Yeah, there's not really much you can do. I'd like to maybe see him pick up a blue ward to kind of be able to scout out from a distance and not have to walk in the bushes to see where people are.
And it
But
looks like we might have a kill here on the Steamroller 14 by Lachlan, but MF Chicken being able to pick up the last kind of shot there, but because of the focus that they had in that mid lane on that cast, 4 people topside being able to take that dragon and secure that priority for Baron coming up.
yeah, if I'm Manchester, you might want to look towards this Baron right now as uh, the support is down, but looks like they're
That
going to be
is
rotating down towards that dragon, which spawns in 20 seconds, just securing that soul point for them.
that was a ton of damage by that Ziggs though, that low combo thrown on Trundle. I mean, that's half the health. Um, so we're starting to see him get a little bit strong. I feel like Valpo really, their only chance here at sticking in this game is playing around Ziggs.
Yeah.
I
Uh,
mean, he's definitely starting to get up in that lead, right? 3-0 and 2 with 200 CS. Pretty good. I mean, you still have the cast advantage on him, but if he can just start throwing in abilities, it's going to be really helpful. It looks like Aatrox taking a lot of damage here, being able to R in and getting killed, but the Zillion R being able to save him. I mean, Nunu waiting for the R, the dash away. But while he dashes away, Kaisa gets to pick up the steamroller kill. Aatrox is back over the wall, and he has full health again. I mean, that honestly, really great like timing right there from that Zillion being able to throw that, the slow on the Nunu, and the Trundle pillar being able to pick up, even with Dreadful dashing in here, trying to get this Trundle, getting it, but going down in the process. Ziggs also throwing a couple of abilities, getting that Kaisa kill in the back line, and that might be enough to stop this dragon at least a little bit, but it looks like Aatrox is just going to sit on it as Cass walks in and gets that kill on Ziggs. Ziggs kind of flying away there. The flash from Ordinal, but Cass is just so fast at this stage in the game. I mean, the E proccing is insane. It's
that
a
movement
lot of
speed that
damage.
from Zillion just being able to chase down that center is just insane.
Yep.
I think this Zillion pick really uh, was really just a power pick from the start.
Yep.
Like you said, just such a great pick. Uh,
And it looks like a little bit of a misstep there by the cast, getting a little bit of aggressive on that Tom Kench there, but just enough slow from Tom Kench Q to stop him under tower. But
yeah, I think a big part of that team fight there at Dragon was when the Aatrox went in and he was so low, but the Zillion ulted. It's the inexperience of playing against a Zillion of just like, hey guys, we need to stop hitting him.
Yeah,
We need to let the ult run out, right?
yeah.
So he doesn't die and then spawn up with all this health, right?
I mean, even then, like that's a really hard decision to make
Yeah,
because guess what? The more that Aatrox just gets to auto you, the more he's gonna heal back. So it's, I mean, like we were talking about earlier, the sustain plus the Zillion R makes these champs almost unkillable.
yeah,
It's really, really hard to play against, and you have to give credit to Manchester. They are playing really well around this pick. What I'm interested to seeing is how Valpo is going to enter into this kind of next game. Only a 4K gold lead here, but a lot of the advantages being on Manchester's side. I want to see how Valpo is going to kind of take this info and go into the next game. Right? Do you focus more on banning out that? Do you still ban out that mid like they were looking for? Do you ban out that Aatrox first round now, knowing that they're going to secure that pick, right? Or do you just try to counter pick against the Zillion? Because I feel like a Zillion ban wouldn't exactly be too helpful right now, right? It's just a good pick,
yeah.
right? There's nothing you can do at that point. So I feel like, how does Valpo trying to choose around this Zillion? Like, okay, we know this is here, so here's who we're gonna choose, right?
Yeah, I feel like a big catalyst for this game was the early pressure towards that top lane more than like the Zillion was that Trundle just like constantly going top and just bullying this Irelia to where, as you can see now, this Irelia can't really do much, you know, uh, just constantly kept getting dived and I think Manchester might be looking for a Baron here.
I mean, they're
Uh,
making sure that Aurelia can't farm,
yeah,
right? Because we saw in that last fight, especially, he was able to dive in and start doing damage, start getting kills, killing that Trundle. Um, and that's not what you want to see from an 0-6 Aurelia, right? Is that he can actually do damage. So now they're kind of focusing. Excuse me,
of
sorry.
course.
Um, Thank you. Now they're actually kind of focusing it like, hey, all right, let's just dive him again. Like, let's dive him again. Let's dive him again. Over and over and over again. We're going to see the pillar here on Trundle with the speed up from Zillion being able to walk around MFG Kimbo's W, and there's going to be a kill on the Kaisa, or kill on Ziggs going to Kaisa.
And if
Nunu
you're
not being fast enough to kind of dive in there.
if you're Manchester, I think you just kind of just, the Baron is pretty free right now.
This is a really strong fight though from Dreadful. This would be a huge shutdown, and there's the shutdown as well. I mean, as we saw, that's a 5-1-5 death dance.
Yeah,
Aatrox is going down to execution. Is going down to
against
Bork Divine Sunderer, right?
1-7 Aurelia. Does
Exactly.
not feel good.
I mean, that's what we were talking about. They're realizing, hey, you can start doing damage now,
Yeah,
right? And that's a huge kill actually for Valpo Esports because now that shows, hey, Dreadful can fight,
yeah,
right? Now he's got that 1v1 potential. Um, Manchester is gonna have to play a little bit stronger around that. Well, I mean, we'll see though.
yeah. You do have the double sideline pressure now for Valpo with the Ziggs and the Aurelia, but you have to be careful that you're not getting fully surrounded, dived on the side lanes, and just giving up these kills. Because when you give up these kills, like you saw when Jakimbo died, that was just a free Baron for them, you know.
Yeah.
And right now the gold lead is not looking too great. Uh, Valpo still with objective bounties, but this is going to be a huge dragon here in a minute. This is going to be Soul for Manchester, and Valpo really needs to stop this Soul from happening, but it's really hard. You see all this vision that Manchester have in Valpo's jungle. It's really oppressive, and it's really hard for Valpo just to step up and try to do anything.
It looks like Ziggs might get caught out here, forcing the flash. Manchester kind of backing out, but like you were saying, that vision is so important right there in those
Yeah.
fights, right? Ziggs just kind of walks into 3 people, forcing to burn that flash, especially with that Baron coming up now, right? With Dragon. Um, Really insane. 20 seconds on this drag with that Baron buff. It's gonna be a tough fight for Valpo being able to win this because if they have to contest it, it's soul point, right? Best way that they win this fight is if they're able to get a pick here, especially on a Zillion or something, being able to force that R. But instead, Steamroller 14 diving in and getting caught out there. The flash coming in from Dreadful and from Nunu as the Aatrox R pops out, but Emma Chikimbo and Ordinal being left out to dry, kind of. The flash on the Ordinal as well, and a or 2 kills going down, 3 people dead in the whole fight. The flash and the R from Cass being able to slow down Dreadful's R coming in, being able to or proc that Zillion, but it's not enough as they pick up the double kill, and that's probably going to be game.
Yeah, that's just game there. They have the Baron. They don't even need Soul. They have the wave with them, and then it's just an ace and Steamroller will spawn up in time. But I mean, there's not really much you can do as a Tahm Kench to 1v5 this.
Yep.
No towers. But yeah, that's a clean game from Manchester. They played that really well from the
Yep.
start all the way to the end. They didn't really give Valpo really time to come back in this game or like really have a chance to breathe. And I think it really came down to a really good draft that they had there with the Zillion, with the Aatrox,
Hmm.
with the Trundle and the Cassiopeia. I mean, the Kaisa really just like took a back seat in this game because I mean, never really called on, you know.
Yep. No, I think the biggest thing, obviously we talked about draft comps a lot, especially these picks that we had here. But we mentioned a lot vision score, right?
Yeah,
Just vision overall, I feel like was the biggest factor in that because that vision led our, you know, 3-0 Trundle, our 3-1 Aatrox to becoming 5-1, 6-1, right?
yeah,
And Valpo, as much as we can tell them, like, hey, you don't want to get caught out here, right? You don't want to stay back. These kind of fights to take are really dangerous. You don't know that. You don't know where people are if you don't have that vision score. And Manchester did a really good job at controlling vision around the map, which gave them that lead, and gave them that boost on the lead that they had.
yeah.
So we are loading into game two here. We'll be going into draft in a little bit, but we are going to take a short break here and we'll catch you guys when draft two of game two starts up. And welcome back, everyone, to Game 2 of the Manchester versus Valpo Esports series. Game 1 going to Manchester, the Zillion pick being very strong, right? But overall, just a really great draft for Manchester. So going into kind of draft 2, seeing a couple of the same bands from Manchester, but the Zillion band coming out for Valpo Esports. I mean, definitely not wanting to play around that,
Yeah,
right? It's a lot easier to just get rid of it, force them to play another Enchanta maybe, just a different kind of support. Because we saw how important it was with controlling those lanes. Manchester, no reason to really switch up their bans, but because Valpo Esports still opted to ban that Nocturne as that third pick, they're gonna go with that Aatrox first pick on Manchester.
yeah. I don't really think the Aatrox on the side of Valpo was the problem. I feel like it was more the jungle pressure top lane that fed the Aatrox more than the Aatrox really dominating the lane. So I don't think you're too scared of that. But we are going to see the Aphelios, which is a big switch up. I like this.
hmm I like that pick.
I like this more than the Senatom Kench. A lot more damage really towards that late game if you can get there. But the biggest thing in this game too is the switching of junglers for Valpo with Vector switching with Zaxter.
hmm
Um, so it's going to be interesting how that jungle matchup now changes with the new jungler. But we are going to see the Thresh or Felios kind of uh, just like one of the best synergy bot lanes in the game um, that we have. But we are going to see an Amumu MF bot lane to counter the Aphelios Thresh, which also just like an icon, like right now, just one of the best duos
hmm
in bot lane.
Definitely a lot stronger of a bot lane this coming around. I feel like
Yeah,
on both sides there's going to be a lot more of a presence, especially in those team-wide skirmishes from these bot lanes. But Valpo Esports going with the Jarvan 4, right? The normal pick that we've seen from Zaxter, the comfort pick. Manchester, since they're not electing to ban, he kind of just gets his pick here. And we've seen that the Jarvan 4 from Zaxter be super, super effective into just playing a lot of these teams. I
yeah,
mean, we laugh about it all the time. It's a Valpo esports game if Zaxter's Jarvan 4 doesn't get a single kill that game but has like 20 assists.
yeah.
Right, because he's gonna hit R's, he's gonna dive in, he's gonna get the knockups and those assists. He's gonna give that team a lead. Manchester going with the Ziggs ban, obviously recognizing the power of that, but Valpo esports also banning the Trundle and the Cass. Um, a
I th-
lot more open to Manchester's mid laner this game.
and it's gonna
Um,
be interesting what they pick here.
mhm,
If they're gonna counter pick or they're gonna go the Victor because Victor was sacrificed for that Zillion ban.
yep.
But they are gonna go the Victor, a strong scaling mid laner.
Mhm.
Um, uh, just really good and really good, especially when you have the R of the Jarvan kind of just trapping people in, where the Victor can just do free damage.
Mhm. And
Um,
I think we have to consider as well, with the bans that came up from both Valpo and Manchester, the Victor pick is not only just a pickup on Valpo's side, but also trying to deny Manchester that pick. Because we do know that their mid laner likes to play that Victor, right? Is a very strong pick overall. But Manchester instead trading with the Poppy and being able to pick their mid laner.
y-
Um, I mean, we haven't seen much Poppy
yeah,
in
Poppy
this.
kind of fell out of the meta recently.
Mhm.
She was pretty strong earlier. We are gonna see the
And there's the
Oriana,
Oriana. Okay, so
strong pick.
Manchester kind of electing to go more of like a support lane in this mid lane. Not saying that Oriana can't do damage, right? But obviously Victor's going to have a little bit more of a presence. The Wukong
That would
top
be
coming out
interesting. Uh,
into the Aatrox, I kind of like that pick, honestly.
yeah,
I feel like the resistance that Wukong gets, especially on his R,
yeah.
um, into that Aatrox being able to burst him is kind of important because like obviously Aatrox is very very strong against tanks.
Hmm.
People that allow him to have a lot of healing, but Wukong can kind of build that kind of burst potential, especially building that divine, right? So taking that pick is not the worst idea. I think honestly Valpo's just looking for anything to switch up right now,
Yeah,
just to give him a little bit of leeway, especially with the escape that he has now from ganks. Being able to go invisible, right, with his abilities. especially if they're going to go that Aatrox, you would expect them to pressure top again.
Yeah,
So,
you do have a lot of engage on the side of Valpo. You have that Wukong going in with the W and the R,
hmm
just being able to knock people up. You got the Jarvan EQ and the ult to knock people down, and then you also have the hook from Thresh. Really, just those knockups, just being able to give a Felios and Victor just free damage on the other team is pretty scary. But at the same time, you have Poppy who can knock away with her all big power plays, being able to knock away a whole member from the team in team fights, can shift the balance.
we ha-
Um,
we have to be careful too. I'm not sure about the interaction with this. Do you know if Poppy's like dash denial works
w,
on Jarvan ult?
I don't know if it works on Jarvinal. It works on dashes.
Yeah,
So I don't know
obviously. So
actually.
it because if it does work on that Jarvan ult, that's kind of nasty.
Yeah,
Kind of like a really really good pick. I'm not saying it's a bad pick if
yeah,
not, but like, it makes sense a little bit more if that dash does stop Jarvan ult. But I mean, overall, Valpo Esports, I feel like both Manchester and Valpo had somewhat of an even draft here.
hmm,
Um, Usually, I wanna look. Obviously, we're probably gonna have to see the Jarvan 4 build tank here. Same with the Wukong. As
yeah,
much as we want to see the Divine, um, tank is just so important for Valpo Esports' team, especially running that Aphelios Victor. You need to give some type of front line to them because they really can't get away on their own.
yeah. And Poppy is gonna build that tank, but early on, early game, she does do a lot of damage and a lot more than you think she does. So you have to watch out if you're Valpo for that, and especially if you're Dreadful, looking out for those early top lane gigs because if she hits three, she has her W speed, and if she can pin you against a wall and Q you, uh, it's not looking good. Your health will drain really fast,
Definitely.
and you're trying to avoid that, like what happened in game one, where the Aatrox just got super fed off those early ganks. Um, but both teams do have pretty good scaling. You have the scaling off of the Oriana and the MF, which are really good late game, and then you also have the scaling of the Aphelios and Victor, which is also
hmm
really good late game. So it's kind of just like gonna come down to which team can create more prio and create more of a presence on the map early game to be able to push their carries into those late game team fights uh, with all that damage and seeing how well they can snowball.
I mean, definitely. We saw that first draft, Manchester opted to prioritize their top three lanes, right?
Yeah,
Kind of leave a little bit of their bot lane to do whatever they want, kind of, right? But now, seeing that Aphelios Thresh come out, right? Seeing a lot more dangerous of a bot lane than that Senatom Kench was early game, I feel like Manchester kind of shifted their draft around that.
yeah,
Being able to pick, because instead of electing for more of just like, all right, we're going to throw an ADC here, like you can just get last pick, right? Now they're electing to give that Oriana mid, kind of give that support to the other lanes, especially with MF, right? So they're definitely putting a lot more trust in their bot lane this game. Still with that top pick being pretty important, but definitely a lot more power held in that Misfortune's hands. So I think we'll have to see how Manchester kind of changes to play around that. But from Valpo Esports' side, I mean, on the same thing, a lot more damage in the bot lane, right? I think the Aphelios pick is especially strong into that Aatrox because of the Chakrams, right? The Chakrams on Aatrox is super, super strong, just like tank melting wise, because that attack speed buff that you get for being closer, obviously Aatrox is gonna get as close as he can to you. So I think it is a great pick. I mean, we'll have to see,
yeah.
honestly.
I think what we're gonna what to look out for is how this Poppy is going to path early game. Is she gonna start that blue and then path down towards that bot lane to get more prio, or is she gonna go back top or start her red and then path up top to give the Aatrox the lead? Um, gonna be really interesting to see what this Poppy does, uh, and how Josh is going to react. to how this Poppy does these early ganks. Is he gonna uh, go bot lane to make sure that he covers the bot lane to make sure that he can't get that early gank, or is he gonna go top lane to cover for the top gank? Um, kind of just like how they're gonna play this out early. Um,
I mean, definitely. We've seen Zaxter likes to have a little bit of a slower clear, especially because he likes to be reactionary with his
yeah,
ganks, right? He likes to be able to counter gank, sit in bushes, kind of wait for people. So I feel like it kind of plays really well into Manchester's jungle, because as we saw, Manchester's jungle level 2, level 3 immediately coming in, right?
yeah.
Immediately coming in hot, being able to attack, jump in that top lane. So with Zaxter's naturally slower clear on Jarvan, right? It's going to be a lot easier for him to recognize where pressure is. I mean, we're going to take a quick minute break before we hop into this game here, and we'll catch you guys at the load in. And welcome back, everyone. As we load into this game here, checking out summoner spells, checking out just runes as well, especially. Not really too much deviation, kind of what we expected. The grasp on a Mumu being interesting instead of the glaciate, but
Yeah, you have that cleanse on Aphelios to kind of mediate that Amumu stuns. I mean, he
yeah.
has those two bandages now, and he has his own really scary lockdown.
Hmm.
Also, you have Ghost on Oriana, so she's looking to run you down, looking like
Welcome to
once
Summoner's
again
Rift.
no TP mid lane.
And we might have a little bit of a 5-man invade here by Manchester, which makes sense. I mean, they have the Amumu.
30
Yeah,
seconds
Very,
until
very strong
minions
for
spawn.
invades.
Ornno needs a watch out here. This could be
Yep,
really bad for this
he's sitting up a little
Aphelios.
bit here. We might see an early cleanse if Akira hits it, but
No, just look like they
yep.
back up.
They are going to get that early vision, though. I mean, we saw this last game as well. Zillion walking in, getting that deep ward. They like to take control of vision really quick. Uh, just adjusting it a little bit, no stress. But
But
Minions
I
have
think what's really
spawned.
huge is that Zaxter did get that ward down on the enemy blue, so they
little
know
dance
uh,
party going on. Hold on.
where the poppy is starting, you know, and where that poppy is pathing.
Yep.
So looks like the poppy is going to be pathing up top lane. So Dreadful does know now that like, hey, maybe to look out for that level 3 gank once double double buffs and the Gromp.
Hmm.
Um, but both junglers are starting the same side, so both are going to be pathing up. Um,
And there's the
looks
bow plated again on Atrax. I mean, we're used to seeing this, but it's trades like that that I feel like Wukong does give a little bit of an advantage here because he's able to dive in like that. Level 2 probably going to be hit here in a little bit. There's the Conqueror proc on both. But just
huge
overall,
trade. That's a
yeah,
huge trade for that Wukong.
that's really what we're looking for here. Level 2 probably going to go to him first if he can just dodge these Qs here.
And it's huge now because that ward that Jarvan plays did pick up the poppy, so they should know where the poppy is.
Yep.
And you can see Dreadful placing down that ward in the river, so they are doing a lot better with vision. Just this far early on compared to last game, keeping track of where that poppy is to play safe.
And there he is just kind of taking Trying to go up for that CS there, taking a little bit worse of a
Yeah,
trade.
here's this Poppy coming up now. Oh no, got the flash.
But probably may be able to dash into the wall here, and this is going to be bad for Dreadful.
Just
Looking
looking
maybe
for
to
the
just
early
try and get
kill.
the first blood, and there's the first blood. Making it pretty worth, even if Poppy gets this kill here, getting that extra gold. That's what we're looking for when he plays that trade, right? Taking the 2v1, being able to get the first blood kill, get that kill, and back off, leaving Poppy to have to deal with that wave.
Yeah, that was good of him, turning that bad situation into something positive with that first blood. If he didn't get that first blood, it's looking really, really bad.
Hmm.
Uh, Also, Aatrox having to use the TP, but since the wave state is pushed in for Dreadful, he can just walk back to lane and not have to use that TP. So already a TP advantage for Wukong and that early kill. He is walking into lane with a Sheen too, compared to only a longsword for the Aatrox.
Tough part is Aatrox now does have a wave where he can freeze it,
Yeah,
so Wukong is gonna lose a lot of CS here. But I mean, what can you do, right?
yeah. I
When
mean,
it's top lane, right? You lose one wave example, you pretty much don't have the wave for the rest of the game.
yeah.
So, I mean, we'll have to see here. Especially, it's gonna be big on Dreadful. See if he can at least try and move this wave a little bit, or just try to avoid damage. Huge trade there for Aatrox.
And he got that wave unfrozen. Super good by Dreadful. Wave is now more in a neutral
Looks
state in
like
the middle of
Jarvan
the
is
lane.
going into the jungle. Sorry, sorry to
Yeah,
cut you off, but he's just kind of walking in, just kind of staring at Poppy here. But we have another engage in this top lane. Aatrox being in a good position here on Dreadful. Not being able to get much. Dreadful walking back, knowing that he does have that level up coming in soon. I mean, we'll have to see, right? We're looking right now at jungling. Jarvan, like we said, that's kind of slower clear that we expect from Josh or from Zaxter, right? Just
hmm
moving around the map a little bit, not really having an opportunity. But this bot lane taking a little bit of prio. Poppy is there though, and I don't think they see her. Um, she's looking for a little bit of a push up, kind of waiting on that Mumu, but they are going to spot her right before, so trying to play safe a little bit in this bot lane.
yeah. That was a great play by the bot lane of Valpo, kind of just reading the map and being like, hey, we don't know where Poppy is right now, so maybe we should back up after we push this wave. There's no real reason for us to stay here.
It looks like Jarvan may be looking for a kill here coming out of the bush, but it's a little bit of a push. You have to be careful. Victor doesn't have much mana right now. He probably has enough for one more E.
Yeah.
Not
Al-
really a W maybe, but
Also, the Orianna using her push early in this lane to be able to get a free back and get a ample tone.
yep.
Uh, just so she is just a little bit more ahead than the Victor, but Victor has not got his first back yet. So um,
It, it's really like until these people hit that kind of like level 9, right, for MF Jacimbo and 6 for Oriana,
yeah,
this lane is kind of just like people tickling each other. There
yeah,
goes the R from Victor trying to just clear this wave early so that he can get that back that he's
yeah.
looking for. Um, but they're just kind of like dancing with each other, right? Here's an Oriana Q there, there's a Victor E there. Really not doing much damage, but I mean, it's cool.
Yeah.
Not much to do.
Another big thing is he has that 50 CS, which means he's about halfway to that E upgrade.
Yep.
Also, another thing you see in this mid lane is the TP advantage that Jacimbo has now. He has a free push on the wave, and Oriana just has to take this slow walk back to lane, losing out on XP and CS. Uh, but and Because of that, Victor was able to go into the enemy red side jungle and drop a ward, a really nice ward to try to track the Poppy to see where she's at.
A little bit of an engage here. Aatrox using his 6 to be able to zone off this Wukong. But I mean, as we saw, we talked about this in draft earlier, kind of the getaway that Wukong has with his invisibility. Definitely a lot more helpful in a lane that he knows he's going to get pressured in.
Yeah,
Right? I mean, bot lane just kind of farming. Not exactly much fighting here other than this topside gank once maybe. Dreadful having 6 here, so having the resistances if he needs to get out, but it looks like he won't have to use it here.
yeah, that massive waste stack was just doing too much damage to him to where he couldn't go on to the Aatrox.
Yep.
So good trade there by Aatrox using his wave advantage for him. But
This is a huge wave crashing for that
you see
Aatrox. It is pretty
Poppy.
helpful. And here comes Poppy. It looks like they're going to dive into tower, but Dreadful popping the R. Maybe not going to be enough damage as Aatrox comes around, but Aatrox being able to finish it off with the flash.
Yeah, that was just so hard. He was already so low health. There's not really much he could do.
Mhm.
But on the bright side, uh, if you're looking at the positives, Valpo now just doing the right thing and just getting this free dragon now.
Yep. I mean, they are going to trade a kill on the Aatrox for Dragon. I mean, we have to be worried though with this top. It is a 61 to 35 CS lead. So I think, again, we're looking at kind of Dreadful playing in that backseat.
Yeah.
Just trying to like catch back up here.
Poppy also doing the right play and splitting the map again by getting this first Herald. And yeah, not much Valpo can do about that.
Yep. I mean, we're seeing, right, this is a lot of jungle play, a lot of jungling in these kind of games. There's not really exactly many like solo kills or many 2v2s that we're fighting. These games are very, very reliant on their jungle. And I mean, as we talked about earlier, Poke on Manchester's side has been a very key factor in a lot of their past wins, having pretty nice KDAs, pretty nice damage charts. So going into these kind of games, you just have to keep up. So, I mean, we'll see hopefully. As Zaxter starts to ramp up a little bit, he'll start to get a little bit more aggressive in these lanes. It's really just going to be, does he feel comfortable?
Yeah.
I mean, once he starts to feel comfortable in these lanes, it's going to be a lot easier to kind of receive a gank from him.
You see this top lane, both junglers are kind of just hovering around. They don't know the Poppy is there, but there is going to be interaction there. He is just going to be EQ out. No, but the W stops the EQ, and Poppy, but Zaxter
There's the
does
flash,
not get
and
out.
there's going to be the stab as well. A really, really nice Poppy play right there. Amumu R coming out, also having engaged in the bot lane. Thresh being able to flash up the R hitting as well. Aphelios Chakrams being just kind of scary here.
Yeah, that could have been something huge for bot lane, but the Aphelios R just misses. So you're not really to get anything out of that, and you just have to back up. But first tower is gonna go to Manchester, opening up that top lane, and once again feeding that Aatrox, just looking really scary.
Yeah, no. I mean, another game, another topside camp. It's what you got to do though, right? It worked last time. Gave the advantage to Aatrox. Aatrox was actually like a really big help in that fight. So I mean, it makes sense that we're seeing it again this game. Even against like a pick like Wukong or something that we believe is a little bit safer. Aatrox is just still a really strong champ, even with the nerf. Might have a mid gank here. Gonna see if he kind of commits to it a little bit, but nothing much. I mean, we're just kind of stalemating here.
Yeah.
No
real objectives are up right now. Worth fighting for. You got 2 minutes on this Mountain Dragon, and then you got 3 minutes on this second Herald.
Yep.
So nothing. We're really just gonna see farming until then. Where someone steps out of place, looking for a gank.
I do want to talk about a little bit. We do have like that Aphelios Thresh, right? We talked about how strong it was, but I mean, in your opinion, why do you think this matchup worked so well as it looks like they're setting up for a die game?
It's Poppy just playing in his push, but I think just Thresh being able to bail out this Aphelios so easy with the lantern and with the hook to kind of lock down someone, just really like plays well with Aphelios, right? Do you get the ult from Orianna?
That's a huge damage and huge trade for Orianna. Being caught out though, and there's the R, but
we
the
do have to see the
speed.
But we still get the burn down from Lysandre's.
The Leandry's proc was just enough to get that kill. I mean, we saw right there the reason that Orianna took Ghost, right?
Yeah.
To be able to outrun that Victor R with no chance, but it was just too much damage, too much of a spike.
Too much burn damage.
Yep.
but Victor does have to watch out here. The
Yep, and there's
flash,
the
oh
flash and
great,
R
oh
and the ult
my,
as well, but missing all of it.
that was a huge sidestep from Jakimbo,
Mm-hmm.
dodging that Q and then flashing the R, keeping his life. That's two huge cooldowns for the Amumu, especially with Dragon coming up in 20 seconds. No flash for the Amumu and no R.
Yep.
Um, so this is going to be uh, should be favorable towards Valpo, especially since the Aphelios did just get the back. So is going to be pretty strong right now for this fight. Um, this Oriana just having perma push, but looks like Valpo is just a little too late to the dragon. Here comes.
Manchester is taking this pretty quick. I mean, here comes MF Jacimbo trying to stall a little bit, gets the stun on that Poppy, stopping it, but the Misfortune are being able to toss in. Zaxter jumping in, but getting caught out as well. The fellows are coming out, but it looks like it didn't hit anything. Trying to dive in just any last second, but we're gonna see the smite there and Dragon going to blue team. Aatrox also coming down on the bot side, being able to pick up the kill on the Aphelios. Poppy getting the kill on the Thresh, and Amumu finishing off the Victor. Overall, just a four-man wipe for Manchester, along with the Drag. A beautiful fight for them. I feel like Valpo just kind of feeded in. It was a really hard part because they couldn't decide if they were going to engage, if they weren't going to, and especially once Jarvan jumped in and did get kind of knocked out, um, they just didn't really communicate much on that, and Manchester took a hold of that, taking a pretty sizable 5K gold lead early in this game.
Yeah,
Um,
that was a huge Oriana ult to get both people in the blue side jungle, and then the TP from Aatrox coming in and just flashing in and hitting that Q on the knockup, and just from there it was the fight was just over. But uh, looks like uh, Wukong has to watch out here. This Aatrox is quite a bit stronger.
I mean, we have a level and item up, but there comes the Dreadful R trying to knock out a little
Here
bit of
comes
the resistances.
Here comes the Jarvan, but Poppy is also up here, and so is a Mumu, so they have to be careful.
There's the dash, just a lot of damage on Aatrox being forced to kind of back him out. The Jarvan are being in, but also getting cancelled. Mr. Kimbo getting shot by this Poppy here, just kind of dancing around a little bit as Aatrox picks up the kill there. Mr. Kimbo not being able to kill this Poppy, but Jarvan being able to just shoot the pillar, or shoot the flag on him, get that kill. Amumu missing that, trying to get to this Lantern here, to this Thresh. Thresh being able to save him, but Misfortune using Strut to just kind of speed up against him. Not being successful with it. Thresh, Steamroller 14 saving Zaxter there in that fight. But, I mean, still a little bit of a rough engage for Valpo, even if it went evenly, right?
Yeah, that was especially tough for Jakimbo, kind of just getting 1v1 by the Poppy, not really gonna be able to get into the fight, and also just the Aatrox 1v2ing the Jarvan and Wukong.
Yep.
Kind of insane. He's so far ahead. He's 4-1-2 right now. Um, he looks pretty unstoppable. Um, Especially when he's 1v2ing. Also, again, this Poppy 3-1-4. Just being able to solo the mid laner like it's nothing. But um, yeah, you can't count out Valpo yet with their comp. They are scaling. They do have a pretty scaling comp, but you just need to stop the bleeding before it just gets out of hand.
Yeah, you're gonna have a Hex Flash over the wall by this Poppy, just trying to get a little bit of damage off on this Thresh, but not gonna be much before she backs, most likely. I mean, if we're looking at this, they really need to start getting that Aphelios going.
Yeah.
That is going to be their saving grace in this game, because Victor is doing damage right now, right? But it's just not enough to handle with the rest of their team. I feel like if Aphelios does get going here, even with just like one kill, a couple of assists, maybe, this game becomes a lot more winnable for Valpo, because
Yeah.
they have a lot more power in these fights.
Yeah, just giving just that little push to the Aphelios or the Victor, just to get them rolling, you know.
Yep.
Just goes so long in the end game. But they just need to pick the right fights and make sure that they identify which fights they can and can't win. And
It
when they
looks, it
have,
looks like Oriana's backing just like right
oh
in their
no,
face.
she stopped.
Nobody. Oh,
She stopped the
she
back.
did stop the back. She's kind of chilling there. We do
She's
have a
going
Rift
in
Herald
behind him.
mid.
Is she gonna try to 1v2 the Jarvan Wukong?
I think she might just be trying to distract them from backing.
Oh
I
my
mean,
goodness.
they are gonna jump on her here,
Gets the flash out of Dreadful.
right? But that's a lot of damage coming
Oh
from
my
them.
goodness.
Oriana, hey,
She
she
has a
knows.
ghost. She has a ghost, so
Yeah,
she's
she
chasing
may
down
be
the
able to
Jarvan
run
right now.
down Zaxter here and get this
She
kill.
does.
Zaxter being able to throw that. Lachlan getting the kill. Huge. Honestly, like, obviously we didn't know what they knew apparently because God,
Yeah, I thought she was a bit silly,
yeah,
and
being
she
a
just
bit goofy there, but
I,
honestly, hey,
I
she knows.
she knows her damage more than we do.
I mean,
Uh,
sadly, director camera did not pick it up, so we apologize, folks. But she did just 1v2.
yeah,
That's kind of nasty. I mean, we had a fight going on in the Rift Herald in mid as well, but still.
yeah. That ghost really just coming in, being able to chase down Zaxter at the end,
Yeah,
really paying off right now, and just allows Manchester to get this easy Cloud Dragon.
definitely, yeah.
Oh my goodness, the double flash out of the bot lane, but that damage from Oriana is just
And there's another
insane.
flash in the exhaust on Ordinal, and that's almost going to be it. I mean, he's one shot here. Steamroller probably going to get caught out here with the R coming in. Oriana securing that kill, and then Wukong getting caught in the mid. And I mean, this game is slowly starting to steamroll.
Yeah, uh, yeah, this is getting a little out of hand.
We are approaching a 10k gold lead here.
Yeah, and when you
for-
hit that 10k gold lead, you kind of just start saying, okay, guys.
Damn.
I mean, they can't see it on screen, but I mean, you can kind of feel it in game when you're getting to that kind of point in the game, and you can especially feel it in champions like the Oriana, where you see how much damage she does do,
Mhm. I mean,
and the Aatrox.
we like to think of Oriana as that support, which is why it was so surprising to see her just kind of pop out. But we have to remember, I mean, that Luden's
Yeah,
proc on her R and her W, the AP ratios that she has are pretty nasty, especially with the recent kind of, not like this or last patch buffs, but like buffs that she's received kind of in the season, making her a lot more viable of just like a damage champ overall, especially with that AoE.
yeah, already at 2 items. So is this Aatrox. They're looking real scary.
Hmm.
Um, Now Manchester kind of just like hovering a little over the Baron right now, kind of threatening it. Uh, but Valpo does have vision in the Baron pit, so they will know if they stop it. But kind of just Manchester uh, doing what they did last game, is getting this advantage and then
Being able to use it right now, trying to
being able
dashing
to
in
use it.
for the hook on Poppy as well, forcing the flash to get out. Forcing that flash before Baron and dive in by Zaxter. A little bit questionable as Poke R's away the other two of their team. The Q in from Amumu and the R being able to secure that Zaxter kill. And it looks like they're just going to use this to try and pressure this mid lane. They can crash this wave here. They pretty much have free Baron.
Yeah, that was a huge R by the Poppy, getting that bot lane duo of the Aphelios stretch out of that fight and just leaving Zaxter all by himself.
I
Uh,
think it was a little bit of a miscommunication there for Valpo's side, as Zaxter obviously looked like he wanted to go in, get a couple of kills, right? Try and
yeah.
use that flash that Poppy had just like used, or try to take advantage of that flash that Poppy had just used, but none of Valpo following up on it.
Yeah, now they're taking
And there's the
this
Oriana
top
R
game
as
too.
well, pulling MF Chikimbo, doing like half his health, chunking him.
Now we are at that 10k gold lead for Manchester. So if you're Valpo right now, you're kind of just at the point where it's like, okay, we just have to we have to go in, you know, we have to make uh, so-called hero plays, you know.
Yep.
It's like you might look a little goofy doing it, but it's just like you gotta force these fights. You gotta do something to try to activate this game, because if you just sit here, you're just, the game's lost.
Yep, I agree with you. You gotta start getting a little bit silly here.
Yeah,
Gotta get a little bit goofy fighting these because
yeah,
if not, I mean, there's no other way to come back from this. You need those like 1v3s. You need, even as impossible as it seems, that's really the only chance you have here at this fight.
yeah. You need to get a fight that Manchester is just not going to feel comfortable in, kind of keeping them on their toes, um, trying catching them off guard. So you kind of just have to force something. Um,
Definitely.
I don't know where you're gonna force that. Maybe there's Dragon in a minute, um, trying to force something maybe before where they're not expecting you to come. But it looks like Manchester's just gonna push in this mid wave and get this inhib tower, this mid inhib tower.
There's another dash in by the Amumu. Huge R from both Oriana and from Amumu, just kind of comboing that together along with the Misfortune R, and that's going to be a lot of damage going out. Wukong being able to dive in that backline, get that kill on that MF. Flash coming out as well, but double kill going down. And then Oriana finishing off the last Wukong.
Well, yeah, you can't make the goofy plays if you don't even have a second to breathe.
Yeah, that
Manchester doing a good job. They're just going to be able to end the game here. Dragon doesn't even matter. Actually, the Aphelios does come up in 5 seconds and could actually kill 2 members.
it's just going to be a matter of can this Aphelios handle
And he
the
hit the ult.
Aatrox.
He hits the ult.
There's the
He
ult and
does
there's the
get one.
kill as well. He might be able to get 2 here if this Poppy dives back in. The exhaust going down on the Aatrox, but that's not going to be enough as Poppy dashes back in.
But we do have
Another
J4
flash coming in from Zaxter as well. Maybe killing this Poppy. I mean, if I'm Aatrox, I'm hitting
Yeah.
Nexus. These guys are following each other. Right, but it looks like they won't as Thresh pulls back in, and Valpo has staggered their spawns, and Manchester is going to be forced out of it. I mean, I don't know if
huge.
they were just getting a little bit goofy there, like just having a little bit of fun, but did not work out well for them.
I mean, that's a kind of goofy fight you won as Valpo, but
Hmm.
like not really when it's your Nexus turrets coming down with it. But they should get Dragon here, unless Poppy is able to come in and steal it. Um, she is here. She does have the Hex Flash.
Misfortune R is not up, which is dangerous. The flash coming from Amumu and the flash from Steamroller as well. Kind of dashing in. Here comes Dreadful on the Wukong, but Misfortune picking up the Thresh kill. Another dash up, and Chikimbo being able to kill that Misfortune. Zaxter going down to this Oriana, who is now back in this fight. A huge R from Poppy,
Huge
but
E from Jakimbo there, killing both the Amumu and the Poppy.
huge fight for Valpo, honestly. I mean, like, Open Nexus is never fun, but I mean, that triple kill going to MF Chikimbo right there, plus the blue buff is kind of insane. Him being able to maybe recall here, pick up Gromp, just
And
get a
think
little bit more.
that fight was out without the Aphelios. Aphelios had to stay in base to stop the mid wave from ending the game. So that was without a major damage point for Valpo. So I feel like what you have to do with Valpo is is you have to slow this game down and you have to let this inhib respawn.
Yep.
If you let this inhib just keep going down, then you're always having someone have to play babysitter in base, and you need the 5-on-5 with the Aphelios to be able to win these team fights.
Yep. I mean, I think we saw just the danger there of having Open Nexus. They were forced to back and kind of play that, which did give them, or gave Manchester Dragon here. Another Cloud Soul, so what can you do? But it is at least just interesting.
Also, something to look at is Valpo has 4 people with grievous wounds right now. The only person who doesn't have it is Jakimbo.
Yep.
So,
Which
yeah,
makes sense. I mean, with
yeah.
that Victor, you really don't want to build Morellos. You don't get enough out of it, especially in the matchups that you want to be taking. You're not really focusing that Aatrox with your abilities. So it makes sense that he is electing to not go with that lifesteal, but, or not lifesteal, I apologize, heal cut, right? But, no, I mean, we'll have to see. As we expected, Manchester's going to try and just get this free Baron.
Yeah, they're shredding it really fast too, and if you're Manchester here, you kind of just uh, you just push in waves. You push in waves until Valpo makes a mistake. Zaxter's looking like he's
Looks
in
like,
trouble here.
yeah, Zaxter, and he used this pillar as well, so he's going to be forced to back. He R is just trying to walk out of it, but it's not going to be enough as the knockup from Aatrox and the Q from Misfortune just being too much.
Yeah, that was one of the mistakes I was saying. Just like getting caught out like that
Hmm.
is huge now. Um,
This
Wukong also looking like he might be in trouble.
this
He
Orianna,
doesn't.
this Orianna also just, I think he has beef with Zaxter. I mean, Zaxter's like died 3 times in the solo lane, and every time Orianna has just question marked them in chat. I don't know if Zaxter said anything beforehand. He might have, and we may have just missed it. But Oriana's just not having a great time just watching him die. It's weird. But
Yeah, I think if Wukong here dies,
and that's probably gonna be game.
that yeah, you have that massive wave mid lane pushing in right now with the Baron buff.
Dangerous part is you do have Victor still up on Valpo's side,
That
right?
is true, but
And
the Nexus is open, which
yeah,
is the problem.
you have just too tanky of people to
Yeah,
really deal with it, and this
you
probably
have
is going
that
to be game here.
massive wave top lane too. This is looking real scary for Valpo.
Yeah. I mean, it's going to be a last hold here. It's going to be insane if they have anything to do. Zax, they're probably going to be looking for a knockup here after the stun, and there it is on that Misfortune. The flash coming in from Oriana as well. Being able to dash in. Oriana getting pulled back. The Amumu are coming out, hitting a huge stun. Chakram's coming out from Aphelios, but it's not going to be enough as Victor, after stopwatching, just kind of being caught out. Steamroller getting shot as well. Yeah, it looks like this is
Yeah,
going to be
and
game
minions.
as minions take Nexus. I mean, overall, pretty rough game for Valpo, but we saw just Manchester being able to use the advantage that they have early in those games with a couple of those early fights and just steamroll with it, really.
Yeah, the jungler played really well to play towards that top lane to give them that advantage. Just really good mapping. I mean, it felt like probably for Valpo, like it just feels like he's everywhere. Like
Yep.
he's everywhere, and so
No.
it feels really bad as the Wukong and the Jarvan trying to just like you're kind of just like playing chase the poppy, really.
Hmm.
Um,
Definitely. No, I mean, the Poppy pick definitely was very active in the map. We had the top laner Aatrox get early lead again. And then one thing we didn't really like look out for in draft but popped off was that Oriana just started
yeah.
chipping people. She became really, really hard to fight against.
As you could see, the most damage, and it showed in game, really, just like huge chunks on people. And once you hit those chunks, even though you don't get those kills, it just like those players just have to back up, and uh, it gives Manchester just so much map pressure that they didn't have before, to where they were able to walk up like in their jungle and ward and get that vision that they needed over Valpo, to where it's like if you can't even walk into your own jungle without risking dying.
No, and I mean we saw that a lot that game. Just overall control and presence was a big deciding factor in that game, and I mean really well played from Manchester. With Valpo, I mean looking at it, you did lose the series 0-2, but we do have another game at 5 o'clock coming up, or another series against Bethel, and you kind of just have to shake this one off.
Yeah,
Like, hey, let's, we know what we did this game, we know what we need to do next game. Let's go in, let's take another win, let's finish the day 1-1, and let's get out.
yeah,
So,
and
um,
the day on a high note.
oh, definitely, definitely. So we are going to be taking a little bit of a break. The next match is against Bethel at 5 o'clock. It is a 3 game series again, and we'll see you guys then.